Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Before we get started and dive right in, here are the codes that you may have or may have not missed during the 1.4 live stream. They will also be in the description down below. So let's go over some of the important parts and exciting parts that happened in the 1.4 live stream, and also get my impressions of it. So we'll start off with the upcoming banners, and the upcoming banners happens to be 2 reruns, one for Venti and one for Child. Venti has been rumored and leaked for the longest time now, and people have been expecting it, and I think a lot of people are going to be excited about this rerun, since I believe there are quite a number of people that missed out on Venti as they started to play the game after his banner ended. And he is what a lot of people consider to be a 6-star. He is one of the best support, if not the best support, in the entire game. Now, a bit out of left field is a rerun of Child, which is completely unexpected, as rumors indicated that it would be either a Jean or Diluc rerun. Child is an amazing 5-star main DPS character, however, he doesn't truly shine until you get him to C6. He is, however, very useful regardless. And finally, the anticipated Rosaria gets a little bit of a showcase in the live stream. She is a polearm cryo 4-star who first appeared in 1.2 during the whole Dragon Spine story quest. We did not get any official news on which banner she ends up appearing in. I personally hope she ends up in Child's banner, as I plan on not wishing on Venti's banner. However, if Rosaria does end up being in Venti's banner, I will be rolling in Venti's banner. The reason why I don't plan on rolling on Venti's banner is actually because of the new weapons that are coming in 1.4. Also, I already have a Venti and he really does not need constellations, at least not any of the early constellations. And I also want more constellations on Child. That being said, Rosaria's showcase was pretty interesting, as it made it seem like she would be pretty viable as a physical DPS, but looking at her attack talents on Honey Impact, her multipliers on her talent attacks are pretty good as well. So as of right now, she's looking like she can work pretty well as a physical DPS or secondary DPS, or as a cryo DPS or secondary DPS support. But only time will tell, and I'm also not much of a theory crafter, so I'm definitely going to be waiting for those content creators to dive into the ins and outs of her once she comes out. Now let's take a look at the new weapons that are coming in 1.4. We'll start off with the weapons that are coming in the banner. Let's start off with the bows. First off, we have the Ellie Hunter, which is a 4-star bow that boosts attack %, which is fine. And it has a pretty interesting passive ability that increases the damage of a character when they're off the field, and then decreases the damage when they're on the field over time. To me, that sounds like a pretty darn good weapon for Fish, and could be pretty good for Venti, since Venti doesn't stay on the field all that much. You really just want to use Venti for his attack talents and then get him out of the field. I would actually put this more on Fish. I think this is looking like her best in-slot weapon now for a support Fish over Stringless, in my opinion, as Stringless gives elemental mastery. In my opinion, Fish doesn't exactly need. Attack %, in my opinion, works out better, so that Oz can just do more damage instead of having to rely on elemental reactions from Oz or whoever you have on the field. But that's just my opinion, and I guess we'll find out soon enough whether that is true or false. But definitely a solid 4-star weapon that I am quite interested in. Next is the 5-star bow, called the Elegy for the End. Now, it gives energy recharge, and it is looking like it is the tailor-made bow for Venti. As for its passive ability, the Parting Refrain, there is a lot! So first off, it increases elementary mastery by 60, and when you hit opponents with your elemental skill or elemental burst, you gain something called the Sigil of Remembrance, which can be triggered pretty darn often, every 0.2 seconds. And it can be triggered if the character is not even on the field, which sounds ridiculous for Venti because all you gotta do is activate Venti's burst, take him off the field, and it's still proccing? That sounds pretty intense. And basically, once you have 4 of these Sigils of Remembrance, they will be consumed, and all nearby party members will obtain the Millennial Movement Farewell Song for 12 seconds. This increases Elementary Mastery by 100 and increases attack by 20%. And once this effect is activated, you will not be able to gain any more Sigils of Remembrance for 20 seconds. Which is actually quite ridiculous of a passive ability, truly worthy of a 5-star weapon. And that is really crazy. Like, who need... This bow pretty much makes, in my opinion, Sucrose kind of null. So what this effect does is you basically keep Venti as your ridiculous 5-star support, but also give Sucrose's effects to give Elemental Mastery to the party. I think that's ridiculous. On top of that, you get a 20% boost to your attack. That is insane in my opinion. This is truly a ridiculous weapon for Venti, and could work with other support characters as well. Maybe a Diona after she procs her burst, because on Diona that would still be pretty insane, especially if you have the Noblesse Oblige, because then you'll be boosting your party's attack by a total of 40%, and that is pretty damn good. And let's not discuss about what happens when you refine it to level 5, because that bonus is disgustingly OP. Now let's move on to the other weapons coming in 1.4, and we'll start off with the one-handed sword, the Ali Flash, which gives Elementary Mastery as its secondary stat, which is interesting. However, its passive ability is quite good, increases all damage by 12%. However, taking damage disables this effect for 5 seconds. So what this tells me is that if you have a shield, you're pretty good, or else you will need to up your dodge game. It is overall pretty decent weapon for any one-handed sword user, in my opinion. However, it's definitely going to be better on your damage dealers versus your supports. I am pretty interested to know if this 12% damage procs while you're out of the field, so say for example a Shinshu activating his burst. I'm also curious to know if your other characters taking damage does end up removing this effect. Something to find out once this weapon gets released. And finally, the other weapon that's coming out in 1.4 in the banners is the Catalyst Wine and Song, whose secondary stat increases energy recharge. Now its passive is ever changing, and that is the name of the effect and not what it does. Basically, when you hit opponents with normal attacks, the stamina consumption for all types of sprint abilities is decreased by 14% for a total of 5 seconds at refinement 1. But also, when you use any of these sprint abilities, your attack is increased by 20% for a total of 5 seconds. To me, this sounds like a pretty good weapon to put on a Mona. However, I do not know for sure as I do not have a Mona, but a burst damaging Mona sounds like it could be pretty useful. Just sprint and then use your burst while you have the attack increase. However, I do think that the decrease in stamina consumption is quite useful for all Catalyst users, as they do not want to be too close to enemies, and they are pretty squishy, so dodging is definitely something you want to be doing. I myself am eyeing this weapon for a potential weapon for Lisa. Now let's move on to some of the noteworthy events that are coming in 1.4. First off, we have Stepping Stone Antics, which is basically Fall Guys plus memorization, and I am not looking forward to it because I am pretty terrible at memorization. I will definitely be falling down quite a bit, which will make for some pretty decent content, I would assume. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this one first is because of its grand prize being another bow, and it is a 4-star bow called the Windbloom Ode, and it gives a boost to Elemental Mastery. For its passive ability, Once you use an elemental skill, your attack is increased by 16% for 6 seconds. Again, a pretty good weapon for official, so that Oz just gets an attack boost once he's on the field. My only disappointment is that it's pretty much a reskin of the compound bow, but it is a solid weapon for some characters. This could also be an okay weapon for Venti as well, but I'm pretty sure most of us that are willing to go for Elegy for the end will be going for Elegy of the End. Other than that, this event will be coming with a boatload of prizes, including Primo Gems, as well as another crown to level up your talent to level 10. Another noteworthy event that's coming in 1.4 is coming in the form of another Archon Quest featuring Dawn's Leaf. But more importantly is that it comes with a new boss. The only disappointment is that it's going to be a one-time fight, apparently. However, it seems like they hinted that it will be appearing in the future as a more permanent boss. There isn't any details on if you can repeat this quest at all to try and fight it multiple times, but for now, as far as we know, you fight it once and it's over, as a little teaser for the future. Now, it is currently looking like a really tough boss fight. It is a humanoid form, and I find that humanoid bosses tend to be a little bit more difficult to fight than giant monsters that are easy to target, but that's my opinion. There are definitely some leaks about it, about what it can do, and it's looking like it increases cooldown of your characters if you get hit by its attack, and that can be pretty damn annoying. I think its design is pretty sick. Blue is my favorite color, and I'm looking forward to this fight. Now to quickly go over the other events coming in 1.4. Bullseye Balloons is a balloon popping event that ties in with the Mondstadt Festival that's coming in 1.4. It is looking like an okay filler event. It is a bit of a downer that the grand prize for it is a balloon that you can place and pop yourself, but it is an event that you can play with another friend, so at least there is that aspect to it. Floral Freefall is another event that ties in with the Mondstadt Festival, and it is another event that you can do in co-op, and it is looking like another okay filler event. Finally, the other event that's tied in with the Mondstadt Festival is the Celestial Destiny. Now this is pretty interesting, as it is an event that is in the form of a rhythm game, and I am not looking too forward to that because I am not too good at rhythm games. Now, of the 3 events that are tied in with the Mondstadt Festival, this one, in my opinion, has the better grand prize, so to speak, and it is an instrument you can play solo or with friends, and I'm honestly looking forward to that because I am quite interested in seeing the musical content creators come up with some really interesting musical numbers. There are also events that aren't tied into the Mondstadt Festival, such as the Wishful Drops. In this event, you will be able to get a new pet in the form of a mini Oceanid. One thing to note is that it actually costs resin to do this event. However, there was a little mention that you could get the Heart of Spring item to avoid resin. They didn't go into too much details on that, so we will have to wait and see how exactly that ends up working. Finally, we also have the Contending Tides, which is looking like a battle arena type event with certain challenges you have to do for each of the difficulties. But I am calling it Spiral Abyss Light. However, time will tell how true that will be, as I suspect that this could end up reaching levels of difficulty that are pretty high, like the Hypostasis event. Outside of that, there were also some quality of life changes. The 3 noteworthy ones are adding a retry button for the Spiral Abyss, which will make things a lot more convenient when we are tackling and failing at the Spiral Abyss. Your total condensed resin is going to be increased to a total of 5 from 3, and we will be able to decrease our world level by 1 once we reach world level 5 and above. This one in particular I think is pretty useful, as I do have some friends that are struggling or are just straight up afraid of tackling higher world level difficulties. So I think this is going to be a blessing for all those players, possibly even those mobile players that are struggling to tackle harder difficulties. With that being said, those are all the things that are coming in 1.4 that was revealed in the live stream that I think is noteworthy. And with that being said, until next time, Adieu and goodbye.